Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day, Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Half mile racing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's just eh. Well, today, in hot, sunny Florida, we were treated to a very competitive, very solid race today with no weather whatsoever, side-by-side action, phenomenal restarts, and a third different manufacturer and a third different winner to start the 2021 season. I mean, they deemed this the best season ever so far. We're getting what we asked for, hopefully. Number 1, William Byron scores his second career win, his first win of the season, capturing today's Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead, Miami Speedway, winning it over Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, and Kevin Harvick. William Byron, what a great start to getting his season going, because the first two races have been literal hell. I mean, he starts the outside pole for the Daytona 500, wrecks his primary car in the dual race, has to start at the rear of the field, makes a charge to the front, but is caught up in the big one early on and has to run the rest of the race with a damaged car that is not competitive whatsoever. Then we go to the Roval the following week, and he ran relatively well, but didn't get the finish he deserved. He kind of had a lot of problems late in the going after he ran top 10 in the majority of the race. And today, because of setting the starting grid based on how you finished versus your average run position and everything, he started in the middle of the pack, and I thought it was going to be a challenge to get to the front. But no, the 24 car was rolling. It was a rocket ship, and they propelled themselves up into the top 10 at the end of stage 1. Then they became really competitive, battling for the lead in stage 2, battling it out with Martin Truex and a lot of other guys. And he went on to win stage 2 after an incredible late race restart to end stage 2, a one-lap shootout, surpassed both the guys on the front row, which Jeff Gordon on Fox said he thinks somebody in row 2 is going to win stage 2, and he called it. And would you know, it was the 24 car, believe it or not. And in the final stage, William Byron just nailed it perfectly. Just flat out dominated, took the lead with about, I think, 50 laps to go and never looked back. He just kept running his own race and cruised to victory, his second career win. But also another big thing about this win for William Byron, not only is he locking him in the playoffs, this is the first win for his new crew chief, a guy he's worked with before, Ryan Rudy Fugle. Both these guys have been very successful during his truck rookie year in 2016, where Byron won the most races out of anybody in the truck series that year with 7. The bad part was these guys didn't win the championship because in the next to last race to decide who's going to be battling for the championship at Homestead, Byron's engine blew up and ultimately eliminated them because they didn't win the previous 2 races. But they still went out to Homestead that final race despite being eliminated and went out and won and finished strong. And so far, in his third start as a Cup crew chief, Rudy Fugle has now won his first Cup race. So, attaboy to Ryan Rudy Fugle. You're now a Cup-winning crew chief. And I believe that this will be the first of many for these two, and I believe that these guys are getting things off to a good start. They've had really good race cars so far. They just needed the luck, and today they finally got it, and they're locked into the playoffs. Listen, I expected William Byron to make the playoffs this year. I also expect him to win a race, just not this early. But so far, the 24 team is clicking. Hopefully, we see the re-evaluation, the uprising, the return of dominance for the 24 car since Jeff Gordon vacated the seat. Because all fairness, obviously, us Chase Elliott fans, we had a couple of chances to win the 24 and we didn't capitalize at the very end. But we have our own dynasty with the 9 car. William has his own dynasty now with the 24 car, which essentially was the old number 5 car when Casey Kane left the team. This was the 5 car became the 24 car. So this is still kind of like, the third, fourth best team in the Hendrick camp, which is probably much like the third best or even the lowest, but still relatively good race cars. William Byron, congratulations, buddy. You're in the playoffs, and I believe that he's going to win more than one race this year. Number 2, Tyler Reddick. Where did this guy come from? I mean, he's really good at Homestead Miami Speedway. He got a top 5 in this race last year. Ladies and gentlemen, the first 2 stages, that guy was nowhere close to the top 10. I mean, after the great run he had in the Xfinity race yesterday before being disqualified from his second place run because he failed post-race inspection, he was nowhere to be seen in the first 2 stages. He was literally out to lunch in a bad way. They were not performing well. And then all of a sudden, the final stage, the track's cooling down, the sun's going down, and all of a sudden, here comes Tyler Reddick flying to the front. He put up a great effort. He was really coming to the very end. He was one of the fastest cars on the track because other guys were trying to save fuel and they were managing their tires. Tyler Reddick was a rocket ship the last couple laps. If we had maybe 15, 20 more laps, he may have gotten to William Byron because that guy was literally riding the rim like he's driving a dirt track, which this track has dirt track characteristics. It's old, it's worn out, and it chews up the tires, and guys usually like to run the high line, like Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. And Tyler Reddick likes to do that a lot, and he was catching those guys at the very end, got by Truex and Kyle Larson for second place at the end. Unfortunately, on the radio post-race, he was a little upset, saying, "Damn it, guys, we almost had it." Be patient, Tyler Reddick fans. Your day of winning a cup race is coming. I don't know when it's going to be, but because of the first two races that you guys have also had, because you guys have had no luck whatsoever, and you finished the 500 with literally no front bumper or no hood whatsoever, coming in with a second place finish, this is a great start to get your season going now. So, Tyler Reddick fans, you should be very happy you had a great run today. Number 3, Chris Buescher for Roush Fenway Racing put up a great effort today. I mean, he kept it up with Martin Truex, the Penske guys, the Hendrick guys, for the majority of the race. I mean, when was the last time we saw a Roush car win a stage in a competitive form and not just on super speedways or by strategy? Chris Buescher ran great today. He won stage 1. He led 57 laps. I mean, I'm thinking, this guy's going to get Roush Racing back to where they used to be. They're going to win the race. They're going to be competitive. Well, after stage 2, the 17 car vanished from the competitive picture because on one of the restarts late in the going, there were guys that are in different tire strategy than guys like, say, Kyle Larson or William Byron or even Chris Buescher. And Buescher restarted 10th, and he fell back out of the top 10 and never recovered. I believe he finished 18th. He finished in the top 20, which really sucks because this guy could have run the top 5 at the end of the race. He could have been battling for the win, but Buescher fans and Roush Fenway fans should keep their heads high because Buescher ran well today. Roush Racing, as a team, did a good job today because Ryan Newman got himself a top 10 late in the going. He had a good run today. So Roush fans, they seem to be turning a corner because Jimmy Fenning, from what I hear, is now no longer in charge of their super speedway program because on super speedways, everybody can do well, and those Roush cars are good super speedway racers. He's now in control of their other program as far as the 1.5 mile, 2 mile short track program. And so far today, it really paid off. Despite the finish for the 17 car and the good top 10 run for Ryan Newman, it paid off. They seem to be getting better. Can it materialize into a complete full season? Time will tell. Time will tell. Number 4, a lot of guys that needed some really good runs today to get their season going because they didn't have a great finish in the Daytona 500, and they didn't do so hot in the road course. Well, a lot of guys got it today. Martin Truex Jr. picked up his first top 5/top 10 of the season, running with a 3rd place finish today. I mean, I thought Truex was the best car today because he was so good in the long runs. The final stage, though, William Byron got the best of him. But Truex bringing home with a top 5, a guy that didn't even lead the first 2 races, and his best finish was 12th at the road course last week, which wasn't horrible. To get a 3rd place out of this and get some momentum on their side going into Las Vegas next week is really good for Martin Truex and his team. And it seemed like their 1.5 mile program, which was pretty much just average, below average program last year, it seems to have regained that 2017, 2018, 2019 stature that they had. So kudos to the 19 team and James Small. Another team that also needed a good run, obviously talked about William Byron, Tyler Reddick. William Byron's teammate Alex Bowman picked up his first top 10 of the season with the 48 car today. He had a great run for the most part, just hung in there. You know, he had to start at the rear of the field because of unimproved adjustments, but he fought his way to the front, and, you know, the Hendrick cars all ran relatively well today, which is pretty good for the program. Michael Mcdowell continuing to have a great start to his season with a winning the 500, had a top 10 today. He finished 6th today, had a really good run. Ryan Newman needed a top 10, and he got that. And Kyle Busch, he was whining about that car at the beginning of the race. And then, like, Ben Bayshaw's new crew chief was like, oh my goodness, this is what I got to put up with Kyle Busch's crew chief. Well, they kept working on the car, and they were able to squeeze a top 10 out of it with a 10th place finish today. So, good run for Kyle Busch and his team. And also, shout out to Daniel Suarez and the new Trackhouse team. First top 15 today with a 15th place finish. So, that's a good result. That's a good result for a team with Richard Childress engines. They did a really good job. So a lot of guys today that needed good runs after 2 really bad races to start the season got what they needed today. Some of them, like Ryan Blaney and Chase Briscoe, not so much. I mean, Ryan Blaney doesn't have any top 10s. He hasn't even led a lap. Chase Briscoe, of course, is a rookie, and this is new to him compared to him being so dominant in the Xfinity Series the last couple of years. They got to get some stuff going, so they got to put together thing. And number 5. The racing today, I thought was really good Homestead race. Last year's Homestead race was pretty good. I think today's was a little bit better because we had a lot of parity today. We had comers, we had goers, we had a lot of guys up front that you expect to see. Then we had guys at the very end come up that you don't expect to see, like Busher winning stage 1, I didn't expect that, but that's how good their car was. Michael McDowell, 3 top 10s to start the season. That's crazy. Kudos to Farmer Motorsports. They're kicking butt so far. The Richard Childress guys ran well today. Austin Dillon didn't get a top 10, but he had a nice top 15 run. He was the best of the RCR camp today. A lot of guys, a lot of comers and goers. And the Homestead side-by-side action today was really good. I watched the Xfinity race yesterday. It was a great race. By the way, shout out to Mike Snyder, Marty Snyder's son, his first NASCAR win, winning the Xfinity race yesterday. The Cup racing today, the restarts are really good, and then the long runs progress, and we saw some good side-by-side action. It was a good race today. It wasn't a boring race, and it wasn't a below-average race. It wasn't one of the worst races I've ever seen. It's not the best Homestead race I've ever seen, because the past couple years, the championship battles at Homestead, which we've had in the past, were one of the best to watch, because we end the season, and we get to see which one of the 4 drivers comes out victorious with the title trophy. Today was a good Homestead race, and we had some fans in attendance, which was nice. About, I think, 5,000 showed up. Good attendance. They got treated to a nice race today. And, I know it's the mile and a half, 550 horsepower package. It wasn't that bad today. It was a good race. We'll see what happens when we go to Vegas next week, which is somewhat similar to Homestead, but it's not completely worn out. There's multiple grooves you can run at Vegas, but it's not like it's going to chew up the tires. There's going to be guys that have run well in clean air, but the restarts at Vegas are really fun. You better tune into that. Finally, driver recap: Chase Elliott, 14th place finish. And it was an alright day. I mean, he was probably the weak link of the Hendrick cars today, which shocks me because we finished second in this race last year. I thought we were going to come out today with an incredibly good race car, because I also heard today that Kyle Larson, who finished 4th today, used the setup that Chase Elliott had in his car that he had last year, which he finished second with and almost won the race. So I thought Elliott was going to come back with the same setup, but they didn't really bring it together today. They did get some stage points in stage 1. They did lead a couple laps. They were really good on the short runs, and the long runs came, and they just fell behind. And we fell back to as low as 24th, and we picked our way back up to 14th. So it was an okay finish. I mean, don't get me wrong. LA fans, we're fine. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to win races. We're going to be just fine. Now, does this dictate how our mile-and-a-half program is going to go this year? Absolutely not. It's just 1 mile-and-a-half race. We'll see what happens next week, and hopefully we run well at Vegas, because the last 2 times we were there, we had cars capable of winning, didn't get the finishes we wanted. Hopefully we come in there and we are lucky. So that's all I have for today's recap of the race at Homestead. A really good race, a really good crowd, and love seeing William Byron in the 24 win. So next week we're off to the West Coast. No 3 West Coast race swing, because California can't host one right now because of COVID protocols. We're off to Viva Las Vegas next weekend, and we're going to see who's going to cash in big. Will the Busch brothers be able to win at their home track? Will William Byron carry off of his first win with his brand new crew chief and Rudy Fugle over to this week? Will they cash in lucky? Will some of our normal favorites, like a Harvick, a Hamlin, Logano, Elliott, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Hamlin, Keselowski, Blaney, any of those guys that you usually see up front, will they be able to capitalize? Or will Matt DiBenedetto, who finished second in both events last year, get lucky? Because so far, that guy also is not out to a great start. So you need to be lucky to be good in Vegas, and we'll see who is lucky. So subscribe, like, congrats to William Byron. Phenomenal job. Really good race today. You all have a great week, and I'll see you next week.